Hey guys, it is Mr. Dave with the RayKitty Creation Workshop, and you are watching the RayKitty Science Project. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a fun one this week with some very simple materials. Everything that we're doing here today you can do at home. Very little safety. When we're talking about safety, I think about the extent of safety is I do have a needle. Don't poke yourself with a needle. So the rest of this is all pretty safe, very, easy, scalable for younger kids up to the older kids. If you're doing something in a camp, we have a little program we're doing. If you're doing something at home, we have lots of fun things with things you probably already have at home. Most of what we're doing, or pretty much all what we're doing today, is focused around scotch tape, right? Or magic tape, right? Scotch is a brand. But we are going to be using this little tape, the clear tape, for presents or for all those wonderful kind of things there. This is what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be doing some different science experiments and a little kind of project that you can do with this, this magic tape or scotch tape. Now, I call it scotch tape. You can buy other brands, all those kind of things, but that's just one of those things. So when I'm calling it scotch tape, you can buy whatever brand. Now, scotch tape is very versatile just for sticking stuff together, but we're going to be using it for a couple different things and different ways of demonstrating science when everyone's inside hiding from the heat because it's so hot outside. You just want to be inside, and all of a sudden, everybody's bored, right? So this is something you've probably got if you dig through your junk drawer. You can find some of this scotch tape and you can do some of these very simple, but you can, like I say, scale these. You can get pretty deep in the science on some of these. Now, some of the other things that you may want to grab, I have cocoa, okay? You can use cocoa. You can use baking powder, depending on kind of the color of paper that you're going to be using. But what you really want is a very fine powder. Okay, so we're just looking for a fine powder. I used cocoa because it's, again, very safe. And if the kids end up licking it, they're going to think it's yummy until they try it. It's very bitter. But cocoa is one of the things we'll be using. I have some balloons. And as I said, a needle. I also have a little makeup brush. I had to steal this one from my daughter, and I promised her that I would clean it up at the end. So, but a makeup brush, if you want to use that. I also have pencils, okay? And the rest of these are kind of optional, even for what we're doing. I have this little paint stick. You can use anything, including your fingers, but I'm going to use this paint stick because it'll just make things a little bit easier. So the main thing that we have here is our scotch tape. This plate, again, you can use just about anything. We're going to be using this in some of our forensic science that we'll be doing. I brought the microscope today. The microscope is mainly so that I can kind of show it to you a little bit easier for what we're looking at. If you do have a microscope at home, you can kind of up some of the game on some of these, especially kind of our forensic things that we're doing with our scotch tape. So we're going to be doing some stuff with static. We are going to be doing some stuff, as I said, kind of forensic science. And we are going to be doing some tension science with mainly scotch tape, okay? So our scotch tape, when we're talking about our scotch tape, you can use the kind that is super clear like this. You can use that kind that is kind of that whitish color, the magic tape that, when it disappears on the presents. For the majority of these, I purchased the nice and clear stuff because, especially when we're doing our fingerprints, this one, they just show up a little bit better. Okay, but the magic one works great also, whichever you want to use. So we're going to get started, and I'll start off with kind of our forensic one. Okay, now the forensic one you can do with the scotch tape. There's a couple different things you can do. I've taught week-long camps that were all forensic science, and you can get into all kinds of fun stuff around the house. We've done programs in schools where we took it out there. Now, when I say forensic, forensic is usually studying something that happened after the fact. Now, You can get kind of heavy into the, Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of thing going on there. But forensic is going to be studying something after the fact, trying to discover what happened, okay? And so we will say somebody stole some cookies, okay? And because that's way easier and a lot more family friendly. Now, if you've got some older ones in the house that you want to get into like what happened here and splatter science and all that kind of stuff, you can do that too. But we want to just talk about a couple things you can do with Scotch tape to have a fun forensic game that you can play with your family, okay? So first what we'll do is, as I was saying, those fingerprints, okay? Fingerprints are a fun thing to do with our Scotch tape because Scotch tape is a great way of pulling fingerprints, okay? Now fingerprints, I have a little sheet also. This is just one that I downloaded off of the internet that you can pull, like I say, from the internet there. And it just shows all different types of fingerprints, and you can get, if you want to get into it a little bit, you can get into, okay, well, this print has these whorls or, different things that a fingerprint has. But everyone has different fingerprints. If you look at my thumbprint, I have got a very different thumbprint. As you can see, I have a scar right across the middle of my thumb right there. So my thumbprint is pretty identifiable even without doing all of the whorls and things. So I'm going to use my other thumb for this one here. So the way that you will get a fingerprint with your masking tape, there's a couple different ways to do it. Now, one of them, the easiest way, is with a pencil. Okay, you can lay down some of the graphite, right? The material in a pencil, we call it the lead of a pencil, but it's actually mostly graphite. So if you lay down a nice layer of graphite, what I'm doing here is I am just scribbling on this, and I'll show it to you a little clearer. I'll hold it up for you. But I'm scribbling a nice dark area onto my paper, laying down a lot of that graphite. Now, the more you do, pretty much the better it is. I'm using the side of the pencil so that I'm not scratching a hole in my paper, but I'm laying down quite a bit of graphite on there, okay? So as you can see, this really dark with that pencil. I put a lot of that pencil lead or graphite on there. And the way that you would get your fingerprint with that is to get your finger and stick it in. I'm actually going to use my pointer finger for this one here. And so I'm going to get my pointer finger and I am going to rub it around in that graphite. Okay, so I'm just rubbing it on there. Now, as you can see, I've got that nice dark spot on my finger there. Okay, and so that's what we're going to use for our fingerprint. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my Scotch tape, okay, and I am going to put it on my finger, okay? So when I put it on my finger here, you can see as it pulls up, you can already see that nice, pretty fingerprint that's on there. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put it onto a piece of paper here so it shows up nice and strong. And you can see that I have pulled that fingerprint with that graphite. So this is the easiest way. It shows up the best. I'm going to do this so I can wipe this off of my finger so I'm not making a mess on everything. Now, just so you can see it a little better, if you have a microscope or magnifying glass at home, you guys can do this one here. But just so you can see it a little clearer, I'm going to put it under my microscope here. And you'll be able to make out all of the little shapes and bumps and things in that fingerprint. So you can see those lines in there. It looks like tire tracks. So you can see that we've pulled a very good print. Now that part there of the print is very straight. So we're going to look around. Oh, there you go. So we can see here that we have a nice curved whorl there, or you can look at that shape. If you look on your little chart that you can pull off of the internet, you'll see that my pointer has got kind of a little bump on there, and that is called an ulnar hand or a loop there. Okay, so I've got a loop on the end there. So you can pull this fingerprint off. Now everyone's fingerprints are different. Okay, so if you're doing that forensic who stole something, this would be one way to get their fingerprint so you can say, okay, well, this is our reference fingerprint. Okay, so everyone does the graphite, they rub their fingers around, they'll put it on here, you'll write their name. I'm going to write Mr. Dave on this one here. And that's my pointer. Don't make fun of my writing. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see what I just wrote. But no, so it says Mr. Dave's pointer. Okay, so we'll know that that was Mr. Dave's pointer. Now, when you're doing your forensics, okay, making those fingerprint references is pretty easy, as I showed you. But how do you get someone's fingerprint? Okay, what we've got here is I've got a little plate. Now, I wiped this plate pretty clean just a minute ago. Okay. And so there's nothing on there, but I'm going to take this one, we know this one's my thumb, okay? But I'm going to take that thumb and I'm going to stick my thumb on this plate, okay? Now you notice I didn't put it in the graphite, I just put my greasy old thumb right on that plate, okay? Now, this is where our cocoa comes in, okay? We are going to dust for prints like we're on CSI or whatever, and we are going to take our cocoa, and this is a makeup brush. You can actually just kind of pour it on there very gently, but it works a little better usually with the makeup brush. So I put the makeup brush into the cocoa. I'm trying not to speak and especially use my plosives into the poof, and then blow that cocoa everywhere. But we're going to put a little bit of this dust onto our plate here, okay, and just very lightly dust this plate. And we're going to see if we can find that fingerprint on there, okay? So I'll bring it up here so you can kind of see. And we'll see if we've got it. Set this over here. And let's see, kind of tap this off there. Oh, and you can see right here that you've got that fingerprint, okay? Turn it there. There you go, so you can see it a little cleaner there. So we've got that fingerprint. My thumbprint is right there on that plate. So we need to get it off of that plate so we can look at it under our microscope. Again, if you don't have a microscope, don't worry. You'll be able to see it kind of with the naked eye at home. But this kind of, the microscope kind of shows it off a little bit. So I'm going to steal that thumbprint with my scotch tape. I'm sticking my scotch tape down to the plate there. And then I am going to do my best to peel the scotch tape back off of the plate because I stuck the corner down. There we go. Haha. Now, if you laugh triumphantly, that definitely helps. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put this on a piece of paper. Now this one should not match my pointer finger because we should have a different looking thumbprint. Now we're not going to have the clarity that we had, right? Because that was our reference fingerprint. But we're going to look at this one here, and if you had a row where everyone had their reference fingerprints, and then you had these ones here, you should be able to match them up. So let's see how well we did under the microscope here, and see how we did with that cocoa, if we can see those lines and shapes. Let me see. This one might be zoomed in a little bit. Let me zoom out just a tad on our microscope here. See if we can catch them. I shouldn't be nice and quiet. I should be talking. There we go. No, this just looks like dust. This might be a little close in on our zoom in there. Now we can see a little, this light area here, down by the bottom. Let's see if I can move it around to it. It's a little close in, like a magnifying glass may work a little better, but you can see in this area here, we have this nice little light spot here. That's that scar on my thumb. So you can see that scar on my thumb and you would say, okay, well I definitely know that that is Mr. Dave's thumb because that little line that you saw is that same little hook that I've got in this scar on my thumb right here. Okay, so we were able to make that out with that cocoa there, and the cocoa we use for our print. Now, if you had all your prints lined up, you'd be able to say, okay, well, this one doesn't match with that one. If you wanted to get heavy into it, you could say, okay, well, these ones have these whorls and that kind of thing. So this little fingerprints and thumbprints is one way that you can really start that forensic science activity or game or however you want to do it. You can get as deep as you want into it. Now, the fingerprints are fun, but another thing you can do while you have your scotch tape for the forensics, as I said, I borrowed the brush from my daughter. I also borrowed this from some of my family members. It's hair. So if you're doing a forensic project and you say, okay, well, who did something? You can plant somebody's hair in the position there. And I have different types of hair here. I have hair from my younger daughter who has her hair dyed nice and black. I've got hair from my older daughter who's got kind of a natural dark blonde color hair. I have hair from my father-in-law's dog that I pulled from the couch, and I have hair from my cat. All of these are on here. Now, how do you do that with scotch tape? You just take some scotch tape and you go around the house on the couches and on the floor, and you'll pick up all kinds of nasty hair. Now, as gross as that sounds, when you look at it, now I can look here and I can kind of see, okay, I can kind of see the differences, but this is one where it would be handy if you had a little magnifying glass. We'll do it under the microscope here, but a magnifying glass would also work. But if you wanted to say, okay, well, whose hair is this? Okay, now when we're looking at this, we can see that we have a couple different types of hair already in the frame. Now we have this fine dark hair that even has, I have a pencil, this dark hair here that has that little light line in it right here. There you go. You see that little light area in it? Well, my cat is a dark color and a light white color, so we could say, okay, well, that was definitely the cat. I'm going to say the cat did it. But we also look here, and if we look, we can identify some of these other hairs. This one here, this nice black, thick black hair, that we would definitely say was from my youngest daughter, who's got the dyed black number 1 typo hair there. And then we can say, okay, well, there's another one. There's a really white fiber there. You see this little white one that's toward the edge here. This one here is from my father-in-law's dog. He's got a beautiful golden lab, and that dog has got these nice white fibers. So you can take your scotch tape and you can go around the house, and if you want to be even more specific, you can say, okay, well, this is a clothing fiber and it's this color and that kind of thing. You just take your scotch tape and walk around the house and stick it to stuff. You will pull off hair, okay? I try to be a clean person. We try to keep our house clean, and still, man, there's hair on everything. So, except, yeah, nothing. I might have a scalp print. Gross. All right, so, but yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of my hair around the house, maybe a couple beard hairs here and there, but that is another thing that you can do in your forensic one. If you wanted to do cookies, you can look at crumbs. You can do the same thing, pull the crumbs up with your scotch tape. It keeps it nice and still. It's a good way to label it, right, to where you can say, okay, well, this is this is that, and you can do a whole forensic program with nothing but scotch tape, okay? So scotch tape is a fun one. I'm going to put the lid on this cocoa before I sneeze in that cocoa and just poof, get it all over the place. Let's go to another little project that we can do with scotch tape. Now this one does involve balloons and popping, of course. So I'm going to blow this balloon up first. There you go. Now, if you have watched me do anything with balloons, you know that I am going to ask what is inside of this balloon, and the answer is going to be Stinky Dave breath. Yes, this balloon is full of Stinky Dave breath. Balloons are disgusting. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and do this without going like this. We're going to see what happens when I put this needle into this balloon. Okay, this is the one that you do have to be careful if you are working with needles. Try not to hold the balloon like this and go this way. Okay, notice I'm holding the balloon at the top. And I am going to put the needle into the balloon. So we're going to see what happens. And watch, you got to make the face. Woo! there you go. Now, surprisingly enough, the balloon popped when I put a needle in it. Yep. So what happened there is we have that tension, and as it's that tense, when you put that needle in there, it breaks just a little bit of an area, and because of that tiny tear in our balloon material, it just goes crazy from there. So what we're going to attempt to do is to change that a little bit with our scotch tape. So I'm going to blow up another balloon. Okay, happy birthday. Here is a bag of my breath. And so there you go. There's another balloon there. Now what we're going to do this time though is I'm going to get my scotch tape and I am going to put my scotch tape on the balloon. Now this works about 70% of the time. That's why I have backup balloons. So we're going to put this piece of scotch tape on the balloon. Okay. Now, other than my cocoa-stained fingers, you would probably not notice that from a distance if you wanted to do this like a magic trick. Now, I really am sticking that down pretty good on there, okay? As I said, this works about 70% of the time, so we're going to see what happens here. I'm going to do the same thing, and we're going to see if that tape is actually going to hold that tension. Now, I blew it up first, then I put the tape on there. So the tape doesn't have a whole lot of tension, it's just nice and flat on there. So you want to make sure you find the tape on there, and we're going to try it. Let's see what happens. Ready? And I am on the tape, right? There you go. I was able, luckily the needle landed here where I could catch it. Now, the tape held it for a second, right, until that tape gave way a little bit, probably because of my cocoa-stained fingers. But as you can see, we were able to poke that in there, and that did hold that balloon for a little bit. And then you got to see me go like this when it popped. Yeah. So the tension when our tape, I'm going to try with 2 pieces of tape this time. Are you ready? And I'll do a purple balloon, right? Because RayKitty purple. These are pretty balloons. Okay, so we're going to try it with the balloons, and we're going to put 2 pieces of tape this time. Okay, I'm going to try to not get my little cocoa fingers on where we're going to poke it through. So I've got 1 there, 1 layer of tape, and we're going to try 2 layers of tape. We're going to see if this makes any difference. Okay, so I'm going to put this one on here. We will have 2 layers of tape now. Okay. And as you can see, if you were trying to do this like as a magic trick or something like that, people probably wouldn't notice that tape on there, except you do have to put it after the balloon is inflated because you are looking at that, that tension, right? So we want to keep that tension in there. So we're going to see what happens with 2 pieces of tape, and here we go. Ready? Okay, now we're going to wait just a second and see if it pops like that other one did. If not, I'm going to set it over here. It'll pop at some random time and scare me to death. So we can see here that I was able to poke that in there. So this one, you can talk about the tension on the balloon. You can talk about material science, how that tape was able to hold that together. Now I'm going to pull the needle out, and this will probably deflate slowly. You can see, if you look real closely on this balloon here, you can see that that balloon is actually tearing on the inside. Okay, so you can see that, where it is, yeah, I was going to say, so eventually when that tear makes it to the end, then that balloon will pop, right? Because as it was holding that tension, when you push that little needle in there, it pulls away just a little bitty bit, and we get that tear in there. So that's another fun one that you can do just using your scotch tape or your magic tape, okay? So the next one we're going to do has to do with static electricity, okay? And this one here is kind of a little bit of a hit and miss, okay? So work with your kiddos on this one or your students on this one. What I'm doing is I am putting a piece of our scotch tape on here, okay? On my tray. Now I'm not putting it directly on the table. At home you could put it directly on the table. At the studio here they have this beautiful table, so I don't want to stick tape on it and try and be pulling tape off of their table. Okay, so I have 1 piece of tape. That's going to be called our base layer. Okay, now I'm not messing with that one. I just stuck it down. Now on our second layer, which is going to be called our bottom layer, so we have a base layer and then a bottom layer. I folded the end of the tape up just a little bit so that I'll be able to pull that tape back up, okay? So on our bottom layer, I folded it so I'll be able to pull that tape back up. So I'm going to put this right on top of my base layer, okay? So I have a base layer and a bottom layer, and now I'm going to do another layer, and if that was the base and then the bottom, this one's the top. Yeah, so this will be our top layer here. I'm doing the same thing, and I am folding the end over there, and that's just so that we can pull it up again. Now with tape, what's fun, and this one you can take to a lot of fun scientific principles there. We'll only have time to kind of show you a little bit here, but when you pull tape off of something, it actually energizes that tape. We actually will polarize that tape. So we're going to take our tape here. I'm going to grab my base layer as well, my bottom layer as well as my top layer. We're going to leave that base layer. And when we pull it very quickly there, our tape actually becomes statically charged, okay, or electrically charged. So we now have that electrically charged tape, okay? Now what's even more fun, and you, like I say, you can do a whole lot with this, is now we have, and it's even coming like it's already attracted to my hands there. When you do it with that base layer and that top layer, you can work with different polarities being attracted and then being repelled. So you can see a lot of different little forces that are in play with that static electricity working with your tape. Now, we don't quite have time, but I brought these ones in just to show you. This is a PVC pipe. You can charge that pipe with your rags or whatever you're charging it with, like we did when we were working with our electricity before. But this and that tape, you can get all kinds of crazy stuff as far as that electrically charged. Now, you can also use your balloons, because balloons are great for static as long as you've got hair. Okay, all right, so these are just some things you can do with Scotch tape. You can have a forensic fun night. You can do some stuff with static. You can do some stuff with tension. So there's a lot of fun that can be had just from your junk drawer. Get out of the heat, go play with some tape. All right, so I am Mr. Dave. Thank you for watching the RayKitty Science Project. And as I end everything, don't forget, science shows you matter.